Welcome everyone to the TechCon interview with Samir Kumar. Samir, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm just going to quickly introduce Samir, and then Samir, we have some questions for you. So, Samir is a co-founder and general partner at Touring Capital. Am I pronouncing that right?
That is correct.
A venture capital firm investing in AI-powered B2B software companies at the early growth stage around the world. With over 20 years of experience in the tech industry, Samir brings a deep tech perspective along with strong understanding of the AI ecosystem, markets, and emerging trends. Um, Samir, I was just talking to someone about how very soon we may be in a world where Salesforce is rethinking their model because people may start thinking, hey, we can create our own version of Salesforce for each of our components, etc. So seems very timely. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I think it's the hottest topic, especially if you're an AI software VC like we are. Whether it's with your portfolio, with, prospective founders, with LPs, it's like the number one topic right now, which is what does the future of software look like, given the AI transformation and AI platform shift that's happening right now.
And you don't feel that, so just before we go to the very next question, there's obviously going to be transformation on the SaaS companies' sides themselves, but the bet is that the other side will take off faster.
Well, I think there's a nuance to this, right? And not all software is created equal. Not all software companies are created equal. I think we have to look at where they sit in the ecosystem,
Hmm.
what structural advantage they may have that would allow them to be resilient to the AI platform shift. And of course, recognizing companies that are potentially not as well positioned, may turn into zombies, actually, or will have a very hard time defending the business that they've built. So I think, this should be no surprise. Really, the three key layers, right? The system of record, the system of engagement, the system of intelligence. And you have to look at each layer individually as to what's happening and, the likelihood of disruption. Of course, there's interaction dynamics between all three layers. But if we just start with, your comment about Salesforce, right? So Salesforce is a system of record for your customer data. And so if you think about the longevity of a system of record, because this is historical data, this is customer truth, this is transactions, this is the actual deterministic data that you cannot tolerate errors or hallucinations or incorrect information in, that does have some amount of resiliency, at least for now. And it is the kind of the foundation on which you then think about what does a system of engagement look like. Historically, a lot of effort and a lot of differentiation in that layer has been built on how much developer capital, developer expertise you have to build, the right user experience, the right UI to be able to pull and push data from that system of record into that system of engagement. And now, as we know, as the marginal cost of developing software and writing code goes to become very, very low, so then developer capital is not the most relevant thing anymore. It's transforming into computational capital, which is how we are now able to generate code using AI. And so we have to think about, well, what is the interesting bit about that system of engagement if it's getting democratized and how people can build it. It really comes down to delivering the right user experience in the right context at the right time, and not necessarily limited to interaction with a single system of record. It may be organizational wide, spanning multiple systems of record, and being smart and thoughtful about both observing and mining dynamic context as either an agent or a human being interacts with that system of engagement. And the more you do that, you'll have compounding effects. And so you're starting to look for companies that have really zoomed in on what is it that they're able to do that's differentiated in a sustainable way at that system of engagement level. And it's going to not be about, I have lots of developers that can write code to make beautiful UIs. It's going to be about just-in-time user experiences, organizational wide interactions and workflows, dynamic user experiences, and the ability to extract context and grow context. And then lastly, you have the system of intelligence, the top layer. these are the dashboards, if you're using Tableau or if you're using other pieces of software to extract analytics about what's going on in your company and across your organization. Well, that's the most obvious one. If we think about the latest and greatest frontier models, and especially reasoning models, the missing piece was we were not able to reason on the data as to why, and only look at the what, and look at the what at a particular point in time versus looking at it over historically, being able to project what's going to happen in the future, and being able to reason about why something happened and what will happen next. And obviously, if we think about large language models, and especially the biggest frontier models, they're exceptionally well positioned to be able to provide a new level of capability at that system of intelligence layer. So I think it depends on where you're playing in the stack and how you've thought about resiliency in defending wherever you are in the stack. But it's clearly harder for legacy companies to defend the system of engagement and the system of intelligence. The system of record has a nuance where some companies have some staying power just because of, that is the source of ground truth. Or it could be regulatory. It's very hard to disrupt a system of record in a regulated industry. It's not impossible, but there's more hurdles to being able to do that. So if you're an established incumbent in a regulated industry, that also gives you some amount of staying power.
I can't help but ask a question on this now. So in your model, is there a system of or a layer of intelligence judgment, if you will, on top of intelligence?
Yeah, so I think that's
Or
intertwined.
is that still with humans?
So it depends. I mean, that's really the gray area, right? It's how much work you are automating. And if you think about a world where certainly the most tactical, most repeatable work does get automated, and therefore the judgment is predefined as to what you want an agent to go and do. Now, there's higher level judgment, which is I still may have to orchestrate work across multiple agents that are doing the work. And there may still be a final kind of gate or milestone where a human has to sign off or a human has to agree, because we are not yet in a world of perfect agents that are doing the work perfectly. They're error prone, they can hallucinate. If you tie these things together in multi-agent systems, those errors can compound. So there's clearly a role for a human in the loop. And so I think, yes, there is a role for now of human judgment in all of these workflows. And the question is, how much do you elevate that? Or is it, and maybe initially it's overseeing the work of agents, then it's orchestrating multi-agent systems, then ultimately maybe it's just a final sign-off that's required.
Very cool. Samir, now coming to the list of questions I had for you, which I'm going to have to edit a bit. Within this, is there a particular vertical that you're excited about?
So
Industry
I'm
vertical?
so I'm personally quite excited about it, because if you think about what are neural networks, large language models, what are some of their like superpowers, right? It's dealing with large amounts of data, dealing with data deluge, dealing with combinatorial complexity that can overwhelm humans, even the best of us who are domain experts. So if we think about domains where that's very relevant, I mean, the obvious ones for me are in the scientific domain, in the engineering domain. So whether you're doing R&D, whether you're doing product development, whether you're doing product testing, I think these workflows, everything from gathering information to do research, being able to do an R&D exploration, think about the design space of a product or a service, and what are all the possible combinations that would provide an optimal solution. Then you get into testing and being able to maybe build digital twins of your product or service and seeing how it would behave, both like and minimizing the cost of testing, which we know in the engineering world is one of the largest costs, is real world testing. So to me, those are the domains I'm excited about. That naturally connects us to the world of physical AI, where AI is able to make the leap from online and digital into impacting the physical world. And I think there's more that will happen, and there's much more opportunity ahead of us in this area.
Okay. Your firm, Touring Capital, recently closed about 330 million in inaugural fund to back the next generation of AI-driven software companies. Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
Is there a particular trend that you haven't spoken about already that got you focused on this opportunity?
I think when we set out with touring, and that's still true, and today versus when we first started the firm, I think we strongly favor looking for industry-specific problems, domain experts who have lived and breathed a particular gap or a problem in an industry, and therefore are motivated and fired up to go do something about it. And increasingly, that means doing something about it with the superpowers you get with AI. So being thoughtful about the application of AI in a particular industry workflow that's domain specific, and being able to, for us, find these things that we're not saying we will only do vertical A or vertical B or vertical C. What we're broadly been saying is we are looking for more verticalized flows, and they could be in any industry. And so I think there's lots of industries that are not the front and center of your tech press or VentureBeat or TechCrunch or whatever it may be, but we rely on these to do our daily work, to live our lives. They're essential industries. They're things that may be behind the scenes. And increasingly, it's going to be about things that are touching the physical world, and the opportunity for AI transformation in them. So we continue to be excited about that. And I think we'll be talking more about that moving forward as well.
Okay. And contrary to that, within the AI B2B software space, where are you seeing the most hype, which isn't delivering any value?
I think, well, I wouldn't say it's not delivering any value, but there's certainly, there's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement historically for things in the sales and marketing domain. Whether it was the automation of building content, whether it was the automation of human workflows in customer service, customer support. I think there's a lot of activity in that space. There's no shortage of companies that, whether they're all chasing the same opportunity or slightly overlapping opportunities. I think the thing to be aware of as we enter a world, let's take AI SDRs as an example. Everyone's really excited about labor replacement with AI. But if we play this out and we have a world where AI SDRs are doing most of the work in terms of customer outreach, the other side, you will also have the effect that there will be more filtering and more screening happening, because people will start to become more aware of AI is the one that is reaching out to me. AI is the one that is soliciting me, and I'm less likely to respond. Or I may have an AI on my side that's handling
AI
those
responders.
AI responders to AI solicitation, right? And that just may result in more AI slop versus actual productive outcomes, and efficiency gains.
Digital twin me and get the AI to talk to AI.
Exactly.
Interesting world. um, so one of the fun questions we have is, what is the one decision that made the biggest difference in your org's progress recently?
Yeah, so
Over
I
the
think,
years?
if you're an AI software VC, you also have to live and breathe the organizational transformation or the productivity gains that you would be realizing in your daily life. So as VCs, the work that we do, everything from sourcing to managing the portfolio, to managing our LPs, to doing market analysis, to doing competitive analysis, board meetings, and being able to track company performance. So we are well on our way now to basically implementing AI-enabled workflows across all of these. And ultimately, the goal being that as we are able to generate and deliver more and more context into these workflows using the AI platform and tools that we use, then over time, you essentially have an augmented brain for Turing Capital that has all of this historical knowledge, understands how the partnership operates, understands potentially even the cultural elements of the partnership, and therefore can then start becoming something that we can rely on increasingly, both as a sounding board, but also to implement our daily work in efficient and scalable way as possible.
That's very interesting. So if the audience takes away one practical insight from your experience, say, what should founders be doing differently?
I think we're in a world where it's about efficiency. It's no longer, I'm not saying something that's controversial, It's no longer about just the number of people you're hiring and building out your engineering and developer teams. You have to think about what you can do efficiently or get a efficiency boost from AI. And right now, I think we're in an environment where there's a lot of interest and appetite in companies that go from 0 to 10 in a very short period of time, or even a 0 to 100 in a very short period of time. And it's not just about looking at top line metrics. There's lots of examples of companies that are doing that, that have the very impressive growth metrics at the top line, but increasingly founders need to start paying attention to unit economics. So if you're not hiring developers, but you're spending more on compute, you have to start thinking about how those compute costs are going to scale. And therefore, what does your COGS and gross margin picture look like in this AI native world where developer capital is being translated into computational capital? Right now, a lot of companies are also not as concerned about churn because they're focused on top line growth. Ultimately, that is also going to matter. Retention is going to matter. As we move from lots of companies experimenting with lots of different tools simultaneously to starting to solidify and choose what is their canonical stack, and then they're going to care about price optimization, and then retention is going to start mattering. So you need to get ahead of that. In this new world, we do care about efficiency up and down the stack, not just top line growth. And then also, how does compute now start to factor into your COGS as you scale over the long run?
Okay, last question. What is the one fun fact about you that isn't on your LinkedIn profile?
One fun fact about me, not in my LinkedIn profile. I am an avid enthusiast of flight simulation.
Okay.
Throughout my journey, both as a child, as high school, college, I've been a computer hobbyist building my own PCs. Every PC upgrade has been driven by a new release of Flight Simulator or new capabilities in flight simulation. And I used to be a private pilot. It's not current anymore,
I
but
was just going to ask you that. Did you take
yeah.
that and was it
I
helpful
it
in
actually,
actually
yeah, I mean,
trying
it
to?
helped me do my pilot's license faster because I
Okay.
was already immersed in the world of simulation. And then more recently, since I've not been able to actually fly real airplanes, I still get satisfaction out of immersing myself in flight simulation.
Okay. Samir, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, man. Good to be with you.